Guys, as I look back on my career, as I look back on my development, my trajectory, the success that I've had, the breakthrough results I've been able to produce, I can tie it all back to one little spark that kind of set the embers aflame and things began to take off for me. Now, it didn't happen overnight, but I locked in, and I began to achieve results, and they began to feed on themselves, and I began to have, this innate motivation. I began to produce results that excited me, and then I wanted more and more and more. But if I look back, I can tell you right now, the thing that started it all was intentionality. You see, up until I was 35 years old, I was a big dreamer. I had a lot of things that I wanted to do, and I would pursue many of them. But when it came time to making the commitment to actually follow through, invariably I pulled back, right? Why? I don't know. Maybe I was afraid. I'd brush up against my comfort zone that was unfamiliar to me, so I stopped. But what was happening was I was a lot of fits and starts, right? I was doing a lot of things and getting people excited. They were paying attention to it. And all of a sudden, I maybe changed direction and work on something else that would get me excited, and I'd get a new crowd excited about it. When I had to make a commitment to really go for it, what happened was I'd stop, I'd pull back, I'd find an excuse, and I'd go to something else. And I don't know if that sounds familiar to you, but it really stunted my growth. It delayed, actualization of my potential. But thank God what happened was I began to panic when I was 35 years old. I remember where I was. I was living in a one-bedroom apartment on Franklin and Cherokee in Hollywood, California. And it was the summertime, like August. And there's no grass around there, no greenery, all concrete. And I was walking up Cherokee. And I remember thinking to myself, like, this is awful, right? Compared to the rest of the world, it wasn't awful, but compared to what I wanted for my life, it was awful. And I was really realizing that time was running out. Life was passing me by. The people that I was in front of early on in my career began to pass me because they were taking chances. They were making commitments. They were stepping outside their comfort zone. They were getting married. They were having children. They were buying homes, and they were doing the things that I want to do. Go on exciting vacations and purchase nice things, right? All those things that I wanted. And what happened was I couldn't make excuses anymore. I realized it was now or never. And that was the spark that got me going. And that has been the theme for me for my entire life from 35 to where I am today. Intentionality. Driving the results that I want in a very intentional way. Now, it doesn't mean that it always goes straight, right? Sometimes things happen, you have to go left or you have to go right, but I was always going forward, right? No more side to side, no more running in place, no more treading water. And what I did was I channeled that energy into a personal strategic growth plan. And that workbook is what I want to share today with you in the bonus that I have here. Right down below is the PDF. Look, this changed my life, right? It changed my life, no uncertain terms. To this day, I still work on my personal strategic growth plan. I freshen it up at the end of every year going into the new year, right? I don't tell you these are things that you should do that I did for a while and then I moved on to something else. My personal strategic growth plan is for the rest of my life because I'm going to be intentional for the rest of my life. I'm going to have joy for the rest of my life. I'm going to have fun for the rest of my life. I'm going to have a great marriage for the rest of my life. I'm going to have great relationships with my children for the rest of my life. I'm going to produce great results in my business life for the rest of my life. But I'm going to drive it. And it's all going to come as a result of being channeled through my personal strategic growth plan. Because as good as I get determines how good the outcomes will be. If I am a weak performer or I am not developed the way I should, I'm going to get mediocre outcomes. So the work on me is never done. I always tell my clients, let's be super clear. I'm a work in progress just like you, okay? So I want to take you through the strategic plan workbook, make some suggestions about how you might want to work through it and some of the highlights here and there. But at the end of the day, the magic is in the doing. You have to do the work, right? You have to decide for yourself the time is now, right? 2020 or whatever year it is that you're looking at this workbook, you're going to change your life. No more. Just like for me, when I was 35, no more. I'm done. I'm going forward. No more excuses, no more, distractions, no more, talking myself out of things. I was going forward. I was going to create the life that I wanted, and I knew it all depended upon the development of me as an individual. Okay, so you'll see as you open up there. Again, it's all self-explanatory, but nevertheless, I do want to share some highlights as you work through the process. You'll see a little survey there, like a questionnaire, and it asks you some questions, and I want you to answer them honestly, and I want you to give yourself a score. You'd be shocked at how many successful people score 2 yeses and 8 nos, 3 yeses and 7 nos, 4 yeses and 6 nos. And I say to them, don't get discouraged. Look at how incredibly successful you are in your life without being as intentional as you know you should be. What does that tell you about what the real potential is? It's amazing how it energizes people. It doesn't beat them down, it energizes them. And I've had the privilege of working with some really, really successful people. And I always take them through this process, always. Now, the very first thing you want to focus on is your vision. Your vision is really the creation of who you want to be at the end of your life. And you're like, well, what do you mean? I'm working on it now. Yeah, I know you're working on it now, but you're never going to actualize your vision. You're just going to keep working on it over and over and over and over again. You're going to keep adding to it. You're going to keep refining it. You're going to keep, building your vision, right? If it has a beginning, middle, and end, it's a goal. A vision never ends. Never, ever, ever ends. Think of it like an umbrella that you pop up. The vision is the thing over the top. The things that hold the umbrella out, the fabric out, those are your goals, right? Those are your skill development blockers and your personal development blockers, and your standards for success, all the things we're going to talk about over the next few minutes together. But at the end of the day, that vision is the overarching fabric that kind of ties everything together, and everything feeds into that. So let's just say your vision is you want to be, the ultimate financial advisor. Unless you stop being a financial advisor, how does that ever stop developing? I mean, aren't there always new things to learn, new people to meet, new strategies to implement, new conferences to go to, new books to read? You see, if you're choosing a vision that is finite, that can be realized over the next 1, 2, 3, 5 years, it's the wrong vision. It's not a vision. So your vision needs to be broad. It needs to be something that excites you, something that you're striving to achieve over the course of your lifetime, and it's always going to be elusive, but it's exciting to pursue it, because as you pursue it, you develop into that kind of a person. Think of it like this. It's not about doing, it's about being. Children get it. They want to be a fireman, they want to be a policeman. And then what they're thinking is, I want to be the best policeman in the world. Well, how does that ever stop developing? You mean you become a policeman and then you don't look to improve your policeman skills, your policeman knowledge, to progress up from a cop on the beat to maybe a detective, to maybe a sergeant, maybe a commissioner or a police chief, or whatever the case may be, right? You're evolving, and that's what your vision should always be. The book of Proverbs says it best: where there is no vision, people perish. Your job is to see that vision, see who you want to become. And when nobody else believes it, when you're not producing results right now that actualize that vision, you still are able to stay focused, because that's what leadership is all about. Leadership is all about identifying where you want to go, exciting the troops, keeping them engaged until you begin to produce outcomes, tangible outcomes that people see, they become excited about, and then they become enrolled in the shared vision. Well, that's what you're doing with yourself. See, you're the stakeholder in you, right? You're always working on your vision, and you have to get yourself excited about it, even when it seems like maybe nothing is happening. But it all starts with vision. So what's the vision you have for yourself, right? Who do you want to become? That's what you want to start to think about. And that's what I did. Is I chose a vision, an overarching vision that every day I get up and my actions need to be in alignment with that vision. And I will constantly work on it again and again and again and again, never ending. And I also have, there's a section in there where it talks about what are you going to do to materialize it or memorialize it or put it in front of your face so you're constantly reminding yourself, right? Well, my vision, right? I have it on a, I typed it up on a, the laptop, and then I cut it out. I put it inside a frame, and it's right there on my dresser in my room. So every day I get up and I go and get my socks out or my t-shirts, whatever the case may be, I see it. There's my vision right there. And do I look at it and do I get energized? Like, no, but I see it. And sometimes I miss it. And sometimes I see it. And sometimes I say, yeah, I'm not really fulfilling that vision. But the bottom line is it's constantly in front of me. And if I can continually remind myself about who I want to become, I know that I'm going to benefit, my family's going to benefit, my clients are going to benefit, my wife is going to benefit, and my life will be so much more rich in both material possessions as well as spiritual, emotional, intellectual as well. Okay. So that vision is so, so important. Number 2, your standards for success. Really important, because this is the way you'll transform your life immediately. I'll give you an example. I'm working with a client right now, and he's a CEO of a company, and there are some things that he has to change. And the first thing we worked on were a new set of standards for success. This is what I want you to keep in mind when you draft these. Okay, there's 2 things, right? And I explain it, but I won't, in the text, but I want to explain it out loud as well. There's a difference between value statements and rule statements. Your standards for success should always be expressed as rule statements. You see, the person in South Central Los Angeles or in in Chicago, right, who is in a difficult area, difficult location, right, where there's a lot of crime. That person has the same exact values as the person who maybe lives in the affluent Beverly Hills, California, or in the affluent sections of Chicago. The values are the same. If you ask both what they value, they're going to value love, they're going to value trust, they're going to value loyalty, no doubt about it. But what's different is the way they define it. That's the difference. You see, you need to define what your values are so that you have a clear understanding of what the behavior is you need to engage in or stop engaging in. That's the key to changing, right? It's not going to be easy. I will tell you right now. And what's really good about this guy that I'm working for is he's the president, but he works under the owners. And I said, you're in a good spot. Because if you're the owner, you don't have a lot of leverage. You can talk a good game about wanting to make change, but there's not really any consequence. In your situation, you're positioned beautifully because you have to change. There's an expectation that you're going to change. And that's good. That's empowering. So what you want to do is you want to identify the rules that you're going to live by that are going to challenge you to be better. I will tell you, this will transform your brand overnight. It will transform your reputation. I do not want you to go out and I do not want you to start to tell people, hey, these are my new rules. These are my new standards for success. Just start living them and watch how people respond to you. Now, look, I want to caution you. I use the example of a prize fighter, right? It's easier to become heavyweight champ of the world than it is to stay there. See, because as you're battling up, right, you have this focus, this goal, and you're tenacious. When you get to the top, suddenly you're the champ, right? And a lot of people lose that discipline. What made Evander Holyfield unique was he only took 2 weeks off every year after a fight. So if he had a fight, he took 2 weeks off. That was it. Got back in the gym. Most heavyweight champs, what will happen to them is they'll, after the fight, understandably, they'll reward themselves, maybe let themselves go, not train as much, and they'll wait till the next fight. And then 30 days before, they'll try to get back in shape. The key with the standards for success is when you start to see results, double down, right? Be super committed to them. Now, you want standards for success that are going to challenge you, right? They're going to challenge you to go to the next level, right? So, like, do you lie? If the answer is no, you don't want to put a standard for success down there that I don't lie. You want to put standards for success down there that behaviors that you have to change. You see, here's a good example. Let's assume you're late to meetings all the time. A standard for success would be, I'm going to be on time for all meetings, and if I'm late, I'm going to call ahead. right? Simple rule. Imagine if you're late all the time, how that shows disrespect to other people, how that is disruptive to the meeting, how it hurts your brand. Suddenly, you don't tell anybody, you just start showing up on time. First couple times, how interesting. Oh, it's good to see you here. Needle you a little bit. You don't respond. You just stay focused. You just continue on. And then over time, suddenly, you've reinstalled a different perspective other people have of you. See, it's not that hard. It's really super easy. Number 3, I want you to focus on 7 standards for success only. Just 7. I want you to 7 rules that you're going to live by on a daily basis. They're going to get you to the next level. They're going to make you a better person. And then what I want you to do is I want you to choose 1 a week, and I want you to focus on it 1 a week, just 1. And I want you to cycle through each rule 4 times over the course of a year. You see, it's not about getting better immediately tomorrow. It's about progress. It's about, the journey. So don't put pressure on yourself to try to manage all these standards for success that can be incredibly disruptive to your life. What I want you to do is I want you to focus on 1 a week, perfect it. And I want you to go to the next one, perfect it. The next one, perfect it. And then once you're done going through all 7, do it again and again and again. You'll cycle through 4 times. The next year, what you're going to do is some of those are going to remain on your list. Some of them are going to be perfected. They're going to come off your list, and you're going to replace them with new ones. That's what I mean by freshening up. At the end of every year, before I go into the new year, I freshen up my standards for success. I look back on the things that I wasn't as good as I wanted to be, or I wasn't as good in certain circumstances that I wanted to be. And I know that I need some new standards for success that are really going to help me get to that next level. Okay? So that's what I want you to keep in mind. One last quick thing. Don't state them as I will. I want you to state them as I am. Present tense, right? I will be decisive. No, I want you to state I am decisive, and I want it to be context specific. I am decisive in the situation, right? As specific as you can, so that if I were watching you and I knew what your standard for success was, I don't need any explanation. I know whether you're living up to it or whether you are sloughing off, okay? So that's how I want you to handle the standards for success. Let me tell you a story about a guy who was a client of mine. He got really into these. And so what he did was he went out and had t-shirts made. And he had his standards for success made on his t-shirt backwards. So he'd wear his t-shirt to bed at night. When he got up in the morning to brush his teeth, he could read his standards for success. Now that's commitment, right? That's commitment. And here's the challenge. The more successful we get, the more money we make, the better our titles, all those sorts of things that can get in the way of what we know we need to do, right? It's all about continuing to be a better human being, a better person. Because at the end of the day, that's what people really want, is they want to be associated with really good, rock solid people. Yeah, you may make a lot of money, but ain't much fun not being liked, right? What you want to do is you want to be respected, you want to be admired, and you want to be financially successful. Okay, next section are blockers. These are in 2 different parts. Think of the skill blocker as something that's intellectual, right? It's knowledge to acquire, or it's a skill to learn, right? You want to become proficient at Excel, or you want to become, you want to learn how to write an article. How do you format an article? How to publish an article, right? There's no risk involved. It's just simply the acquisition of knowledge, the development of a skill that there's no reason why you can't develop the skill. What you want to do is you want to focus on 3 to 5 skills. 3 to 5 skills that if you acquire those skills, they would meaningfully impact your business. And I would say 3 as opposed to 5. 3 to 5 skills. And then what I want you to do is, in the section we're called strategies, is 1, 2, 3, whatever the strategies are, right? What are the strategies for each skill? So you want to lay those out. Maybe you want to learn how to be a better public speaker. And maybe the strategy is you're going to go to a Dale Carnegie course, or maybe you're going to hire a public speaking coach. Whatever the case may be. Maybe you want to learn the skill of closing, asking for the sale, right? There's techniques. Maybe you want to listen to Brian Tracy's Secrets to Closing Sale, or Zig Ziglar's Secrets to Closing the Sale. I don't know exactly what the titles of them are, but along those lines, right? Those guys are masters when it comes to, different closing techniques out there. Maybe you want to become a great negotiator and you want to listen to Roger Dawson's tapes on negotiation. You see, you want to match one skill or two skill, or you want to match one skill to a corresponding strategy that's going to help you develop that skill, right? That's it. Three, I say 3 to 5. Three, that if I master these, I'm going to push my business to the next level. It's going to impact my business in some way. So like this year, right? Actually, what I should say is last year, what I did was I took social media and I broke it down. I didn't say, the skill of becoming good on social media, too broad, too big. So what I did was I put down proficient at LinkedIn, proficient at Instagram, proficient at Facebook, proficient at Twitter, proficient at YouTube, all the different social media platforms. And then I put down a strategy for each. The strategy for each overlapped at times. But see, the overarching strategy was to become really good at social media. It was a matter of acquiring knowledge, right? How do you do this? There was no risk involved. It was just commitment, right? And then the development of the skill of how do you do videos, or how do you do posts and things like that, right? So it's super, super important. Identify those 3 skills. Second, this next section on your personal branding block, your personal development blockers. This is going to determine everything for you, because it determined everything for me. And I don't mean because it did for me, it's going to do it for you. I just know how important these are. You see, guys, so many of us are stuck inside our comfort zone, right? We can't seem to break out. We have that little voice in our head that tells us, not to do something because we could get hurt, right? Or these pictures flash in our brain that cause us to lose confidence. Working with my son in basketball, and he's a good shooter, and all of a sudden he lost his confidence. So I taught him this technique called the circle of excellence, and I'm telling you, it revolutionized his game. Like, he got the MVP trophy this weekend in his game, and he has that kind of potential. But I'm telling you, had he not restored his confidence, he wouldn't have realized his potential of being a good scorer. It's that simple, right? And I know that for me in my life, the reason I zigzagged a lot was because I was afraid a lot. I was afraid of taking chances. I was afraid of things that could happen, that it was better to play it safe. I'll give you an example. This resonates with a lot of people. For years, right? My wife would occasionally ask me to go to the supermarket during the week at 9:30, and I'd be in the supermarket at 9:30, and I'd be like, "What am I doing here?" I should be in the office. I'd be freaked out, right? I would be freaked out because I got to stay in the traditional lane of the Protestant work ethic, and you're at the office at 8:30 or 9 o'clock, and you work really hard, and you bill a lot of hours, and you break a sweat, and at the end of the day, you come home and you did a good job. It doesn't matter if you move your business forward, but you did a good job because you worked really hard. You see, the reason I thought like that was because that was the way I was raised. My parents are awesome people. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they look at me like, "Well, what are you worried about that? We never told you that." I know, but what happens is you watch people, you watch your peers, you watch your family members, you read books, you watch things on TV, and you develop these patterns, you develop these limitations, these fears, right? And oftentimes they keep you inside your comfort zone. Well, the good news for me was I also had this burning desire to do more, to go to more places, take more chances. And it was like a tension, a yin, pulling. I shouldn't say yin and yang because that means they're working together. It was, I want to step outside my comfort zone. You better get inside your comfort zone. I want to get outside my comfort zone. You better get inside your comfort zone. And for a long time, the inertia of staying inside my comfort zone prevailed. You see, those personal development blockers prevented me from stepping outside my comfort zone and taking chances. And if I didn't do that, I knew I would never actualize my potential. And that's what I want for you. So what I want you to do is I want you to identify. I want you to identify those 3 personal development blockers that prevent you from taking chances. Remember I said the skill blocker is about the mind, right? The personal development blocker, it's about the heart. It's about the gut. It's about courage. And I want you to think about, what prevents you from stepping outside your comfort zone. So like you're afraid of prospecting. Well, if you don't prospect, you can't develop business, right? If you don't network, you can't develop business. So you got to think about what are those things that prevent me from stepping outside my comfort zone. Now you'll see in the text there, you're going to see in the text there, I talk about context specific. You see, I could teach you all the closing techniques in the world and you could master them intellectually. But whether or not you have the guts to utilize them is a whole different story. You see, I can teach you how to format a speech, so that you're prepared, right, to give a presentation. Whether you have the guts to get up in front of people is a whole nother ballgame. You see, it's the personal development that drives the skill performance. And so just like with the skill performance, I want you to identify those 3 personal development blockers. Be super context specific. Fear of rejection. Where? Where specifically do you have that fear of rejection? Right? Fear of taking a chance. Okay. Where specifically are you afraid of taking a chance? Guys, I also want you to have the strategy. Your strategy might be you got to go with therapy. Your strategy might be, hypnosis. Your strategy might be, Barnes and Noble and Borders, and Borders aren't around anymore, but Barnes and Noble, go online, Amazon. There are so many books, so many resources, so many tapes, so many courses that you can download that can help you essentially overcome, go around, go over, whatever the case may be, so that you free yourself of these limiting fears. Look, know this. There are only 2 fears that you are born with. 2, loud sounds and falling, right? That's it. Everything else is acquired, which means we can unacquire it. Nobody's born with fear of public speaking. Nobody's born with fear of foreigners or spiders or snakes or heights or elevators, right? Nobody is born with those. Who cares how we got them? All we want to do is unacquire them, right? That's all we want to do. So that's what we need to do is we need to do that. We need to do those skill blockers and those personal development blockers. Then on that section of goals, right? Before you get there, you see that balance chart? What I want you to do is I want you to identify 8 categories of goals, maybe financial, spiritual, intellectual, whatever the case may be, where you could have multiple goals, right? And what I want you to do in the pie chart above, you'll see, I want you to plot it out because I want you to see how balanced or imbalanced you are. And then what I want you to do is go to your setting your goals. Now, guys, it's amazing. I'll get into these sessions where I'll teach people and I'll say, okay, let's lay out our long-term goals and short-term goals, and how people come up with 5 or 6 on each side. I'm like, I'm mystified by it. I'm completely and utterly mystified by it. It's almost should be like a Christmas tree. You're putting ornaments on it, as many as you can possibly put on it, right? You just want to, you don't worry about if it's going to be in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Just every single goal that you want to achieve, if you weren't afraid of anything, what would all those goals be? And you'll see that a short-term goal is 3 months or less. A long-term goal is obviously 3 months and 1 day onward, right? And I want you to just brainstorm all the goals that you have. Put them down there, right? Put them down, put them right down there on that worksheet. When you're done with that, you look back and you're going to have a personal strategic growth plan just like I did. You're going to have a vision that motivates you and gives you direction. You're going to have standards for success that challenge you to be better. You're going to improve your brand immediately. Build a better reputation for yourself. You're going to identify skills that you need to acquire to break through to the next level. You're going to identify those blockers, those things that prevent you from stepping outside your comfort zone, and you can start freeing yourself of them, because that's when you're going to start to see incredible transformation. And then you're going to figure out how balanced you've been in the past with your goals, with the development of you. And then going forward, long and short-term goals. You put that together, that is one hell of a powerful strategic growth plan. You put that together and you begin to implement that, you will be unstoppable. I guarantee it, unstoppable. Now, in the third bonus, which is the productivity funnel workbook, I'm going to teach you how to take those long and short-term goals, and I'm going to teach you how to put them into a structure for 2020 or whatever year you're looking at these bonuses, so that basically the personal strategic growth plan, the goal setting section, that section is basically your brainstorming section. I want to teach you how to take the goals off of that and put them into play. You're not going to achieve all of them. Like I said, you should have 20, 30, 40 goals on each of those, each side of those, right? Long-term goals, short-term goals. I'm going to teach you how to pick what you want to focus on in 2020. So you're setting yourself up for success. You're picking the 5 best long-term goals, and then you're going to pick short-term goals, which are your quarterly goals. And I'm going to show you how to work through them on a annual, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily basis with the productivity funnel workbook. Okay? So download that workbook. Listen to this video. Take some notes. So as you work through that workbook, where you get a little bit stuck, I think I've probably been able to bridge that gap for you. But again, you have questions, raise them on the implementation calls. Happy to address them. I guarantee you're not going to be the only one. As I always say, man, remember, you are your best bet. So get to work.